So good morning. My name is Lisa Tschauner, and I am with the Center for Entrepreneurship and Rural Development at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. And thank you so much for joining us. It's a beautiful spring morning. When I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, we could open this up with a joke or something. And I wish I could say April Fools. None of this really happened, but unfortunately, it is the situation that we are in right now. And earlier, a couple of weeks ago, it was probably a couple of weeks ago, Derek and the Chamber started this really great fund, and we started getting a lot of calls from business owners asking, what do we do? How do we handle employees? How do we handle unemployment? How do we handle, is there going to be relief funds? And so we decided to kind of follow suit with a lot of other communities and to offer a online, socially distanced webinar so that people can gather some great information from all of our area experts. And so we're really happy today to have a lot of our area experts and state experts with us that are going to share some really great resources with everybody and hopefully answer some of the questions that we have out there. So I want to thank Elise Hoffman, who's also with the Center for Entrepreneurship and Rural Development. She's kind of behind the scenes making everything happen with this webinar today. So we've both learned a lot about Zoom this week. So I wanted to share with you, I do have a, let me go to my screen here and share my screen with you. If you go to email cerd@unk.edu, you can fill out our interest form. And so if you are a business owner, business professional, if you're a solo entrepreneur, if you need any assistance beyond this, that's what we do in our center is we help entrepreneurs, or we help small businesses. So you can fill out that interest form. It takes less than, I think, a minute to do, and we will be in contact with you, and you can set up a individual session with us, and we will be in touch with you, and we can set up an individual appointment for that. And then if you have questions during this webinar that have not been answered yet or that you'd like to be answered after the webinar concludes, you can go right up here on my screen is an email address, or you can go to here and you can also email us, or you can go to email CERD, and it's over in the chat panel. If you enable your chat panel, you can get that email address, and it's email cerd@unk.edu. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot this morning myself, so let's get right to it. I want to introduce Rusher, who is the president of our Kearney Area Chamber of Commerce, and he's going to tell you about this fund that they have set up and some other resources. So take it away, Derek.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks everybody that's joining us today on the call. Before I begin, just on behalf of the Kearney Area Chamber of Commerce, I want to send our condolences out to the family of the man that passed away yesterday in Buffalo County. Because of the COVID-19, not a good thing for our community, and so our thoughts and prayers go out with you guys. I want to thank Lisa and her team again, and UNK for working with the Chamber to get this virtual roundtable organized and going. A little update on our CARE Fund, that's the Kearney Area Employee Emergency Relief Fund. As of last night, we've had over 700 applicants. We've verified and awarded looks like we've awarded $42,576 in grants to over 550 people. So over 700 applicants, but we just haven't got them all verified yet. It takes time. Applicants are averaging about 3.5 people living in their homes. So we're impacting just over 1,900 people in Buffalo County. That's a pretty neat impact. Out of those 700 and some applicants, they've requested over $270,000. If you remember, we started with a $100,000 anonymous grant. We've increased that to $116,000, but that obviously isn't enough. We're trying to impact as many people as we can. A lot of people are getting a $100, $200 grant awarded to them to hopefully just help us offset some costs. But I would encourage people to continue to donate as As you know, this is going to go directly to help our Buffalo County workforce. So far, a neat fact is that so far 0 of our applicants are receiving financial assistance through another organization. So we've cross-checked with like Community Action Partnership. They have a list of people that, you know, come to them for financial assistance. None of our applicants so far are duplicates, which I think is really impressive, and it shows that the money is going to the right people. And so really neat stuff. So go to kearneycoc.org/COVID-19, click on the donate button. We'd really appreciate some more support. Applicants can apply up to $500 every 30 days. So that's all I got about that. Let's get this all-star lineup going. Excited for all the great people in here. It's awesome that you guys can join us, and this is important. So our first group has more of a local feel, and each panelist will probably have about 5 to 10 minutes. We'll try to be done and wrapped up by 10 o'clock for sure. And then obviously you guys are more than welcome to stay on, and we'll get our our second panel going by them. And if anybody has anything to kind of chime in while somebody is going, you know, send a chat or email, and we'll see if we can answer those questions. So without further ado, we're gonna start with Randy Kissinger. Randy is the regional manager of the Nebraska Department of Labor, and Randy, I'll take it over to you.
Thank you, Derek. Thanks for the invite and everyone that's participating today. I will stay at the 30,000-foot level and then maybe address some specific questions if they have them. The main impact we're having now impacts 2 different groups, employers and job seekers. On the employer side, if you have specific questions, please contact our office, 308-385-6300. We will try and get those questions addressed or get someone in contact with you immediately. If you have employees who are being impacted through a complete temporary shutdown or a partial shutdown, there are a couple of programs. Unemployment insurance, have the individuals file their weekly claim, open a claim as soon as they're no longer employed. After that, they'll file a weekly claim until they return to work. The governor issued an executive order. Anyone that files between March 22nd and May 2nd at this time, they have waived the work search. The goal is to keep those employees with their current employment situation and their employers. So that will allow the employers to maintain their workforce, so as soon as they can go back to work, they can go back to work without requiring individuals to look for other work. There is some short-time compensation. So if individuals' hours are reduced between 10 and 60%, but they're working some hours, we can also work with the employers there. So hopefully we can address if they have a complete temporary shutdown or if they have just a reduction in hours. Contact our office, we'll get the applications, we'll get information to them directly to pass on to their employees that have been impacted. If an individual has been impacted, they need to go to our website, neworks.nebraska.gov, and Nebraska is spelled out. Open their claim. After their claim is open each week, Sunday through Friday, file a weekly. That will get them processed. It normally takes 1 to 3 weeks in a normal time period to get those going. Obviously, we do not live in normal time periods. Right now, it's taking about 3 to 5 weeks. There's been a lot of questions about the waiting week was waived and immediate payment, et cetera, based on media accounts. If they are filing due to COVID, the waiting week has been waived, but what that means is if it takes 3 weeks to process their claim, in that 3rd week, they'll get a full 3-week check, and then they'll get weekly after that, as opposed to a 1-week waiting in a prior life where they would only get 2 of 3 or 3 or 4 based on payment. Each individual claim is filed uniquely and it is adjudicated uniquely. So if individuals have questions, am I going to get paid? How much am I going to get paid? We really can't answer that until they file their weekly and they open their claim. So go ahead and get those done once they're no longer working. Those are the two main things. If job seekers have questions, we have an 800 number set up, and I'll give that. And then what they're doing is routing their questions back to the local offices to assist those individuals based on their need. And that number for individuals is 855-955-8867. So two main groups, employers and job seekers, special services set up for both, local office for employers, the 855 number for job seekers. I know Lisa asked me about, we've had a lot of questions about self-employed individuals and others who have been impacted. That is coming from the federal level. They may or may not be eligible for Nebraska benefits if they have never paid into the trust. My best advice is if they have been impacted, go to the website, open their claim. The website will have information based on the federal unemployment assistance when it gets to Nebraska and how it gets processed. That I've heard is between 2 to 4 weeks when that's going to come. So they want to make sure that they do have their registration, they are online, they do open their claim, they do file their weeklies. And my understanding is those will catch up once that gets to Nebraska, as long as they're doing the weekly. If they do not file weekly and they do not open, they will not be eligible, in my understanding. I've heard some retroactive things, but in a normal world, if they have not filed, they're not eligible. So that's my best advice to them. That's what I have, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Okay, I'm not sure if Derek might have got pulled away there. So we don't have any questions right now on the email. And we will share all of this information with everyone after the call. We will have kind of a document and a recap of this meeting. So we'll turn it over now to Mayor Stan Clouse and let him kind of share some information with the community of Kearney.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to the group and all those that are online. We've had some interesting 2 or 3 weeks. I think this is my third week working from home. Not in quarantine, but like everyone else, you know, you have to do what you have to do to help with the social distancing and see if we can keep it under control. Late yesterday afternoon, and Mike Morgan is online, and I'm going to turn it over to him in a minute or so that he can explain what the directive health measures mean and where we're going with that from a community. But essentially, what I've seen throughout the community is, folks have been in compliance without the directive health measures, with the exception of a few, doing a good job with social distancing, closing the dining rooms, doing carry out, all those types of things. But I do know that there are a significant number of businesses that have been closed. A lot of folks staying home, that it is a challenge. And I see Senator Lowe is online too. And we had the opportunity to work with the Hot Meals program. And I think yesterday or the day before, they had delivered or provided their 10,000th meal that not just Kearney, but there have also been some deliveries to some surrounding areas outside of the corporate limits of the city. So a lot of donations coming in, or a lot of people helping out. The challenge you have is, once that community spread really takes off, how many of those programs are going to be impacted? And I'm just familiar with the Hot Meals, but you also have the Senior Center that has been providing meals, and other organizations and the food pantries, a lot of donations coming in and a lot of help for those that are in need. So I think we're just starting to see the start of this based on what we've seen just in the last couple of days on community spread and additional cases that are around that maybe haven't been publicly announced, but they are out there. And so I think we're just going to have to turn it up a notch as far as locking things down and being much more proactive and having people stay home and protect not only themselves, but also they can be the carrier and not know it and really create problems for others unknowingly. So I think that's important. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Morgan, and he can talk about some of the things that we're seeing and what we're doing from the city. So Mike, are you on?
Good morning. Can you hear me, Sam? Should be on.
You're good, Mike.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Last night, as the mayor mentioned, we received notice of the state-directed health measure for Buffalo County and several counties around us through Two Rivers. That will certainly trigger some additional action I'll talk about here in a minute. First thing to remind everyone, we established a few weeks ago a COVID-19 at KearneyGov.org email, COVID-19 at KearneyGov.org. We've received several hundred emails through there that we're trying to sort through and make sure we can communicate directly to individuals or forward that information on to the respective parties. With respect to city government, we're open. Most of our services will continue to obviously be provided. Other activity, obviously city finances, we've made some dramatic measures and reduction in capital equipment and large projects as we move forward. However, we're monitoring closely the federal government, which will likely have a stimulus program for capital. So we want to make sure that we're prepared with shovel-ready projects in case those funds get pushed down to the local level. So we've been adopting as a business as well as local government significant those measures. You will see in the next few days ramping up and further restrictions and limit of contact as much as possible. With respect to the state-directed health measures, there's a lot of confusion and rumors about those. You can read the generic paragraphs that describe that. Some things are fairly straightforward. Clearly, you can't have any gathering of more than 10. But then again, people are confused because there are certain large businesses, factories that may be open that have more than that. Generally, it does not apply to employees, although the 6-foot rule, whenever possible, is supposed to be maintained. We know that there are certain businesses like bars and restaurants that will be required to go to drive-up only, which will be a change for some of our local folks. But we'll put together a very detailed Q&A today and get that out to the public. Also on our webpage at the top, there's a COVID button that you can press to see all our updates since the very beginning in our initial press conference. So we just continue to add to that. But I'd say stay tuned for today because I know we've already received numerous questions and there's a lot of inaccuracies out there. But essentially, the state-directed health measure for those businesses that are impacted, what it does is it provides to law enforcement the mechanism and the responsibility to enforce those. For instance, I know we have a few particular establishments that weren't complying with the 10-person rule, and under this health measure, we will be communicating with them today. Obviously, the first phase will be to educate, help people understand what those rules are so we move forward the next few days. Hopefully, enforcement won't be required. It'll be more of a communication tool at this point, and we'll see what the compliance is. I would say overall, there's been tremendous voluntary compliance throughout the community, which we sincerely appreciate. But I think for the majority of citizens need to understand this is far more serious than I think some feel. It is here in Kearney. There was a lot of belief that it would not reach Kearney or we were immune from this. And as you can see, that's certainly not the case. And you'll hear of more cases over the next few weeks. We're learning that likely the peak will not be the same as other parts of the country. It's going to be further down the road. So we're going to strongly encourage people comply with the social distancing, and then we'll communicate those directive health measure, the impact of that here later today. Any questions?
Just one thing that I would add is that Mike and I and Chief Waugh are meeting with both of the hospitals with the healthcare to make sure we have a good understanding of their needs and their concerns. So if they need some assistance from the city, we're there to support them on that. So we're ramping that up to have those meetings 2 or 3 times a week.
Yes, and a good point, Stan. And we so impressed by what both hospitals and clinic and healthcare workers are doing. But Clearly, the one thing I think people don't understand is in order for them to protect us, we need to protect them. And so I hope that Kearney leads by doing a great job in complying with these rules and doing even more beyond that. So we'll provide more information later today.
Odee Ingersoll with the Nebraska Business Development Center is online. If you wanted to.
Yeah, good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
So sharing our screen, hopefully you can see that. That's the information that you have. I'm with Nebraska Business Development Center. We're with the University of Nebraska at Kearney, but NBDC, or Nebraska Business Development Center, has resources and locations throughout the state. We primarily serve central and south central Nebraska. That's going to include Kearney, Hastings, Grand Island, up to Central City, Broken Bow, down to Arapahoe, Kansas border, over to maybe about York. And what we do is we specifically help individual businesses with services that they might need, and what they need right now is access to some of the programs, of course, that have been announced. One of the ways that you can find our information most quickly is to just go to Google and type NBDC Omaha. Omaha is actually where our lead center is located. That's going to get you to this, and you can click on our website here, and it's going to take you then to the resources that we have available for businesses all across the state. One of the things we've done is created a specific webpage that has resources for all types of businesses during this time of crisis. It's going to not only help point you to individual programs that are available, and some of those we'll discuss today regarding some of the loans and grants that are available for some type of business relief, but also planning purposes. Some businesses may not need funding right now, but maybe they need help with some type of a plan to conserve cash during this period of time until things start to reopen again, or actually thinking about what their operation looks like after this crisis is over and start changing maybe some business models. And we can assist with that as well. This is the SBA website, and you can take a screenshot to get that information or contact us. We'll be happy to get that information to you. But this is the primary portal that's going to provide information regarding the different types of assistance programs that are available. And right now, those primarily are taking two forms. There's an emergency disaster relief loan, and then what you've heard about the CARE Act or the payroll protection program, and we'll go over those quickly as well. So for the traditional economic disaster loan, this is going to be for businesses that maybe need more help than just paying for payroll for a couple of months and retaining their staff. They actually have other expenses that they're going to need to address. Maybe they've got payables that are due to other vendors or things like that that are going to need to be addressed. This program is really good for both larger businesses and small businesses. You're going to actually apply directly with SBA for this loan. The funding is provided directly to you from SBA if approved, and not through a traditional lender. And businesses just have to meet the traditional SBA small business requirements, which are generally below 5,000 employees, I believe, which almost all the businesses in this area are going to meet. But there's some size standards, and in most cases, businesses are not going to have to worry about that. You're able to apply for up to $2 million at a very favorable rate of interest. This is a loan, not a grant, so it does have to be repaid. But in one of the key portions of this particular program is you are actually able to indicate in the application that you need an emergency disbursement of funds, and you're actually able to get $10,000 within 3 days after you submit the application. This money is not recoverable by SBA, so it really becomes a grant, not a loan. So especially for smaller businesses as well, even if their application for this emergency loan is ultimately not approved for some reason, as long as they've met the basic criteria, they're able to achieve a $10,000 payment to help support their business that they're able to access rather quickly, and it doesn't have to be repaid back to SBA. Loans over $25,000, if you choose to go this route, do require that you pledge your assets in the business as collateral, excluding any personal real estate. So just like any type of a loan, it does have to have some collateral and some guarantee of repayment to SBA. You're also able to defer, I believe, payments for a period of time before those start up. If you have any other type of SBA disaster loan, for instance, the flooding that we had a year ago, those loans can also now be deferred until the end of 2020 while everything is sorted out during the COVID-19 crisis. One of the things that we would recommend, because of the popularity of all of these types of loans, is that if you are trying to get onto different websites, including SBA's, that you choose maybe some off hours to access those sites. When you're filling out the application, save the information often. And if you're applying for this loan, select economic injury, not damaged property. At this point, tax returns are not going to be required at the time of application, although SBA may require those as proof of the business at a later time. And you will have to disclose all of the affiliates and partial owners in the business. So one person is not able to just simply make application for a business that has 5 owners in it. All 5 owners would need to be disclosed. This is generally what the website looks like. This is really a streamlined application compared to what we've seen in the past. Again, you can see the website address at the bottom. Screenshot that or contact us, and we can certainly help guide you to it. But both of these programs are designed really to help speed the process for the business so that you can get into the pool of review and approval. Now, the information that a lot of people are talking about right now are the CARE Act. And this is information regarding especially the Payroll Protection Act. That's designed to help maintain your employees and help pay some other expenses. We have some different resources like this. We're happy to send those out to you as well. If you'll contact our office, we can get this information out to you quickly, help answer any questions that you have, help you actually prepare some of the documents or maybe some of the information that you need for this. For the CARE Act, the amount that you are able to apply for to assist your business is going to be equal to basically 2.5 months your monthly payroll expense, and it's going to be capped at that. So if you're a small employer, it's going to be a smaller amount. If you're a large employer, it's a larger amount. These loans can actually go up to, I believe, $10 million. What's important about this loan, and the reason many businesses are interested in it, is if you use it appropriately, the loan can be fully forgiven. So in actuality, it turns into basically a grant. The loan is designed to relieve payroll expenditures, so you're able to pay your employees and use this for payroll, but you're also able to use it to pay mortgage obligations on the business, rent or leasing payments, or utility payments. I believe 75% of the actual use of the funds, however, does need to go to offset payroll costs, and you need to retain those employees, not let them go and rehire them. Okay, so this program is really designed to help you maintain your staff during this period of time so that you can come back up to speed whenever this is over. Regarding how NBDC can help, we can help you find this information on the loans, discuss the information with you and the resources. We're happy to individually address questions that you might have. We may not know the answer. In all honesty, things seem to be changing about 3 times a day. So it's been a very fluid situation, but if you have a question that we can't answer, we'll contact the people that do know, at least as of this moment in time, and get that information to you. We can also help review your financials and get it ready for a lender. The CARE Act is actually not funded directly to you by SBA. You'll go to a local or regional lender of your choice, an SBA approved lender, and they will actually process that loan for you. And for the bank, it's a great deal because they actually receive 100% guarantee on those funds, so they're assured repayment as well. But as with any lender, they're still going to want basic information about your bank, or I'm sorry, about your business for their own due diligence. We can help you with a cash flow analysis as far as how to get through this period of time and maybe look at restructuring portions of your business after the COVID-19 crisis is eased. And we can also help you with business valuation and exit planning. Right now, that's really kind of up in the air because of this crisis, and it may change some of the ways that you were thinking about approaching your business down the road. So we can assist you with that. Our center is not open to the public right now, but we're all working from our offices or at home. So we're still available during normal business hours. So please call us. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can, and be happy to assist you and help guide you through this process. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any questions there, Odee. But like Odee mentioned, his center is still able to virtually meet and connect with small businesses, as is the Center for Entrepreneurship and Rural Development. Like I said, if you just go to our website, unk.edu/CERD, CERD, we are happy to, if you fill out our interest form, we are happy to set up a phone call or a Zoom meeting with you and talk about your individual needs with your business. So I think we kind of skipped over Elizabeth Roetman with KearneyWorks. Liz, are you there?
Yeah, so sorry, I'm having internet issues. So
No worries.
yeah, we're just seeing a lot of phone calls about just uneasiness of how to apply for unemployment. So we've really tried to just walk people through that process. We've also had some Zoom meetings on what the short-term compensation program looks like with businesses that are kind of questioning that they really want to keep their people employed. You know, what does that look like? So I've helped facilitate information and getting those questions answered through the proper people at the Department of Labor. And we definitely have seen a rise this week and people still wanting some part-time hours. So, you know, we've tried to make those connections, and also every person's situation is a little bit different. And we've definitely tried to meet with the people that can connect that they really need, whether that be, you know, food or mental health information, those types of things. So we have definitely gotten more calls and email messages about those types of resources and how to get them connected to that. So yeah, it's a crazy world we're living in right now, and I'm just trying to stay on top of trying to get the correct information out there as I get it. And people can definitely check out KearneyWorks Facebook page. I try to put information on there as I get it, and you know, just try to help people maneuver through either getting their hours cut or, you know, losing their job entirely, and trying to connect them. I did have several people in the last couple of weeks that have decided, you know, I really want to look at redoing my resume and yeah, you know, just updating that. So we definitely are still doing those types of things too. And you know, just reach out to me if you're looking at wanting to do something like that, and you know, just getting people connected and getting through this. So
Thanks, Elizabeth. I wanted to introduce Bryan Slone. Bryan Slone is the president of the Nebraska State Chamber. And Bryan, I'll just give the floor over to you. Thanks for joining us this morning from Lincoln.
No, and thank you guys for hosting this. It's really important that we get information out. And I'll just highlight a few things because I know there'll be Q&A at some point here as well. In terms of the state chamber, we're trying to track both federal and state developments, whether it be through our agencies here at the state or through the federal guidelines. Our website, nechamber.com, will consistently keep a list of the current federal and state information. And Derek, I know you guys are great at the Kearney Chamber as well as putting that same information up. That's a great resource. I do want to just touch base and put everything a little bit in perspective as we represent employers throughout the state, and we hear from them every day. The basic messages that I'm giving employers across the state is we absolutely have to take this seriously. The next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be critical. The number one thing that is going to get us all back in business the soonest is enforcing these social distancing guidelines for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to peak in this state sometime between 2 and 4 weeks from now. And what that peak is and how big it is and how many counties are involved is going to have a lot to do with how fast we get the state back up and running from a business standpoint. So that still is number one. We have not had a challenge like this since World War II in terms of effect on business. In terms of my day job is quickly becoming dealing with rumors across the state. And so be very careful about rumors. Yesterday's rumor that I dealt with at 6 in the morning was that the rumor had started that they were going to close the Kansas-Nebraska border. There's going to be no closing of the Kansas-Nebraska border. And we just have to be really careful that the rumors are outpacing some of the realities sometimes. As mentioned before, our manufacturers are still up and running. Some are shutting down for short periods, but definitely businesses are still operating. We need to keep those supply chains, the transportation logistics companies, we need to keep those operating during this crisis, and that's been recognized in every single state so far. So I don't see anywhere where those operations, those essential operations, will ever shut down anywhere across the country. I think the governor's done a good job of balancing the social distancing rules on a data-based approach county by county so far, and I think that puts us ahead of a lot of states. In terms of businesses looking at their future, probably the number one question I get is, when is this going to end? And how long do I need to plan for? And it does make a difference. And the answer is, there is no answer. It really depends on how diligent we are on these social distancing rules and how quick we can bend the curve in Nebraska as well. But clearly the governor's indicated that at least through April, all of these restrictions are going to be in place. These effects are going to be on our business. I think you should all assume that through sometime in May, businesses are going to be affected by this. And if we get a good result, that's probably where we start. But if we get a bad result, it could extend further. And then lastly, you're gonna hear about PPPs and EIDLs a lot over the coming weeks. The PPPs are the payroll loans from the federal government. The EIDLs are the disaster loans from the SBA that have been talked about previously. One of the key questions for business is, we were short on workforce before this crisis hit. I suspect that once we come out of this, and we will come out of this, and there will be an economic recovery, we'll be short on workforce again at some point before the end of the year. So one of the key considerations is your workforce, in terms of whether you let them go or whether you keep them on the payroll and take advantage of the PPL. And for companies that are very much reliant on an existing workforce in place, I do recommend that you work with the advisors that are on this call today, whether it's MBT, UNK, or others, to take a look at this paycheck PPP program to keep the payroll going, because for a lot of companies, losing their employee base and having them go other places is going to put them in a tough spot coming out of this. And so I'll end with that, Derek, and let you get on with the rest of the program.
Okay, Derek might have gotten pulled away. So I know that we have the chat. Hopefully you can see the chat panel. If you're not at full screen, you can see that on the right side of your screens. And Odee has been adding some information in there. We've gotten some email questions. So I think he's been answering those through the chat, but it has to do with the forgiveness of the loan. So if you have questions on that, you'll want to be sure to check that out. Also, I believe, Odee, will you be willing to share your slides with us so that we can share those with the attendees today?
Yes, absolutely. Be happy to do that. And just got an email right now, again, from SBA. There's more information coming out. So we'll try and keep some updated information, share it with you, Lisa, and of course, make it available to anyone that wants to email at us at our center here at UNK. Okay, wonderful. And again, a reminder, you guys should see it over on the chat panel. If you have any questions, please feel free to email them to email.cerd@unk.edu. Throughout this webinar, I'll be checking that and throw those in there.
Derek, did you have any other questions before we move on?
Not at this point. I think some of the questions will probably be answered a little bit later, so definitely stay on. We've got some experts coming for some of those, and I see some of them right now. But I think next is Kelley Messenger from the Department of Agriculture. She's Business Program Specialist. Kelley, thanks for joining us this morning and giving us that ag perspective and helping us out with that industry. So I'll pass it over to you, Kelley.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I am with USDA Rural Development. I am out of the Kearney office, but we have offices throughout the state: Lincoln, Norfolk, North Platte, and Scottsbluff. And we have business, housing, and community programs available. On the business side, we haven't got any special funds made available like SBA has. So we've been referring people that need that immediate assistance to SBA. But we haven't had any special funds available yet on the business side for COVID type assistance. However, our existing loans, they did put out on the Federal Register yesterday that our existing loans, lenders can go ahead and do servicing actions without prior approval from us, but they can defer payments up to 180 out to September 30th, I guess it is. But they can go ahead and do that without getting our prior approval. They just need to notify us that they had done that so we can get that into their file. That's the same with our energy guarantee loan program. Any existing energy guarantee loans that are out there, the lender can do the same servicing request without our prior approval. On community programs, which would be like our hospitals and nursing home facilities, emergency equipment loans, things like that. Again, on the loan side, there are some special servicing actions that we can do. I believe the new CARE Act has some things listed for us, but we haven't got any guidance on that yet. So just make sure and contact the local rural development office here in Kearney. You can contact 308-455-9837 for my line, and then I can get you directed to where you need to go on that. But again, we're being allowed to do special servicing actions at this time and waiting to find out if we're going to get any special pools of money. And like I said, then we're just kind of keeping in contact with everybody. This has been really great to hear what other resources are out there. And like I said, we're kind of forwarding them on. I had some questions for Odee because I've had some businesses, like construction businesses, a lot of them are sole proprietorships, and construction slowed down a lot. And so they're wanting to apply for that new program and have different questions like that. So it's an ever-changing game. It's been interesting. And like I said, any businesses that have any questions, they can call me 308-455-9837. And if I can't help them, I will direct them out to where we can get their assistance.
Thank you, Kelley. I do have a few email questions. One of them from Don asked on the application, Odee, it says that the program assists with rent, utilities, and such, but there's not a spot for that on the application. Can you address that?
Sure can, and also put that over in the chat function. So the application is only going to be based on the amount of total annual payroll expense that the business had in 2019, and then it's going to be 2.5 times that monthly average. So there's not a specific request for funding for other parts of what you might use the loan for. However, the proceeds from the loan are able to be used for those approved purposes. And what the business owner will do, of course, is document, keep track of what is being spent in each of those categories. Again, the majority of the use of the loan is intended for payroll to keep existing employees. What we're hearing right now is 75% as a minimum. But then if you have other expenses that include the mortgage, the lease, the utilities, you're still able to use the funds to pay for those expenses as well. The owners just need to document it so that they can make sure that it's forgiven under the program.
Okay, great. And then Just kind of a general question comes in from Nathan, and he's asking, do any of these programs support individuals who are contract workers or part-time workers that are no longer able to go to work due to the shutdowns? I know we've kind of covered that, but does anybody have anything additional to maybe add or fill in on that?
So if you're a sole proprietor or an individual contractor or 1099 independent contractor, the PPP program should assist you with that as well. The initial guidelines that we had were small businesses and sole proprietorships were able to actually apply for this program beginning April 3rd, and independent contractors and self-employed workers on April the 10th.
Okay, thank you.